If you are trying to figure out if you should BRRRR a property or flip a property, this video is for you. I'm going to give you two concrete considerations to think about in order to help you determine which way you should go with a property. Should you BRRRR it or should you flip it? Now, a couple of housekeeping items, first things first. Number one, what in the world is the BRRRR word that I keep saying? If you aren't familiar with the BRRRR acronym, it's B and 4 R's, and it stands for Buy, Rehab, Rent, Refinance, Repeat. Also traditionally known as the value add method, and repeat it over and over. It's a famous way of building your portfolio. You buy a distressed property, you rehab it to increase the value, you rent it out, you now refinance it at that higher value. So you're recapturing most, if not all, of your capital that you put into it. And then you're using that money to rinse and repeat. Fantastic strategy. Can't say so much about the acronym. It's a horribly complicated acronym, too many R's, but it is a valid strategy. It is a holding strategy. That's important to know, and we're going to hit on that again later. Second housekeeping item, if you haven't liked and subscribed already, you can do both of those things now. Little like button, little subscribe button. May have gotten those backwards. I don't know. But those are the housekeeping items. Now they're out of the way. Let's dive in. First consideration, if you're thinking about BRRRRing or flipping, what should you do? My answer for this is the same as it is with just about any strategy question. Run the numbers. First things first, don't worry about anything else. Just run the numbers on both scenarios. I feel so passionate about this that I have a whole video about running the numbers to help you answer your questions. Check that link out below. Run the numbers on both scenarios because sometimes one will be obviously more profitable than the other. Not all the time, and maybe the numbers don't really give you that answer, but start there because sometimes the numbers will make it abundantly clear which option is going to be more profitable. Cool. So if you're saying to yourself, except I don't really know how to run the numbers, I have help for you there too. There's another video linked below that is a very easy, straightforward way of running rental property numbers, which would apply to more or less the BRRRR model. It doesn't have the equity in it, but it does have cash flow numbers, rental property numbers. I don't have a video on flipping numbers because I don't actually flip properties, but check out the link below to get you started on learning how to run the numbers. So if you don't already know how to run the numbers, learn it and then run it on both scenarios. That may give you your answer with no further thought. If it doesn't give you your answer or they're kind of equal contenders, then we're going to go to consideration number 2, which is what are your goals? And I'm going to give you an example of one of the most common things I run into to kind of drive home this point. A lot of people want to build their portfolio. They want to get to a certain number of dollars per month in passive income. They're going to need X number of properties to get there. How can they get there as fast as possible? Quite often what I hear people doing is they think, well, I want $5,000 in passive income a month. I need all passive income properties. Well, when you buy properties to hold, most often you're keeping your capital in that property. You can't really pull all of that capital out, depending on how well that BRRRRing thing goes. But oftentimes once your money goes into a passive opportunity, it's kind of there. So if you're starting with a limited amount of capital and you're only buying passive properties, you might run out of capital before you hit that goal. See what I mean? So oftentimes people are like, oh, well, I'm running out of capital. I'm like, well, how many properties are you holding at this point? They're like, well, all my capital is in these 3 properties. Okay, well, you need some of that capital out. You've got to keep this path going if you're trying to get to a certain goal. So instead of holding all of your properties right away, you may need to flip them. So first, consider the numbers on both options. If the BRRRR model, this is back to consideration number 1, if the BRRRR model has fantastic cash flow, then you have all that equity and it's a killer deal, you may want to keep it. But if it's not that killer of a deal and you can make a pretty penny by flipping it, you may need to flip it in order to keep progressing towards your goal of getting more properties. You see what I mean? So if you aren't trying to build an empire of properties and you're just trying to, put your money somewhere smart and invest in good things, the BRRRR model, which is the holding option, may be perfect because you may not need that capital to roll forward. But if you're actively trying to build your portfolio as much as possible, you may need to be flipping more properties in order to keep that capital rolling for you. See what I mean? So your goals matter in this decision because we are literally talking about the difference between a passive income long-term hold, which would be the BRRRR, and active income, which is flipping. There's pros and cons to both, but you need to know which of those strategies, if either, more accurately fit your goals, because what you don't want to do is choose the thing that absolutely doesn't support your goals. That's not going to be very helpful. So does that give you some ideas of which way you should go? You know, here's the thing. If you end up burring it and you're like, maybe I should have flipped it. Okay, well then you can sell it then. And you can actually, if you have held it long enough, you can probably swap into a 1031 exchange at that point, because if you flip it immediately, you can't 1031 exchange it. If you don't know what that term is, or you want more information on 1031 exchanges, check out that link below to a video where I actually talk with an 1031 exchange expert, and we dive specifically into the dynamic of flipping properties and the 1031 exchanges. Spoiler alert, can't do them. So all that to say, you can't really go wrong unless the numbers just flat out don't support, because honestly, again, it's back to the numbers. One property may be a killer flip deal and a terrible hold deal, or vice versa. So step one, run the numbers, see if that gives you your answer. If it doesn't, go to step two, consider which option best fits your goals. It's that simple, folks. If that was helpful, smash that like button. And also too, if you've been in this scenario where you have tried to decide between BRRRR or flip, or maybe you did one, but you wish you had done the other, leave those stories in the comments and everyone can learn from them. Cool. See you on the next video.